Today's art has two different projects that you can work on. One of them involves your Bible journal cover and another project that is all about a gumball machine. I'll start first by explaining the Bible journal covers. You should have received two of these pages. They're exactly the same, and it's because you have two Bible journals. So each one of these pages can be used as the cover for your Bible journal. It says right here, My Bible Journal, first grade 2019-2020. I have hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. Psalm 119:11. That was one of our memory verses earlier this year in first grade. And here at the bottom it says by, and you can write your name here at the bottom. Then you can decorate this Bible journal cover however you would like to. You can use crayons, colored pencil, markers, whatever you would like to use. Make it as colorful as you would like. You can choose to color in all of these circles. You can choose to color in this background here. Some students have chosen two different ways to decorate it on this outside. Sometimes I've had students who have decided that they wanted to cut out along this black rectangle here and remove this outer white trim and just glue this rectangle onto their Bible journal. That's your choice. You can certainly do that. I've had other students decide that they want to use this white trim along the sides here and decorate that as well and make it as colorful as they want, and then choose to glue this page onto the front of their Bible journal. So you can decide how you want to do that. This is your cover, so you can design it the way you would like. Once you've gotten it the way you would like it, just take this piece of paper, use your glue stick, and go ahead and glue it onto the front of your Bible journal. Okay, once you finish with that, let's take a look at our next project. The next project has quite a few steps, so I'll help you work through each one of those steps to get it all completed. This project is called This Year Was Gumbelievable. Instead of the word unbelievable, they made it into gum because you'll be making a gumball machine. So here's what you're going to end up doing. You will create a sample here of a gumball machine about first grade, and each one of the gumballs will include something that you remember that you really liked about first grade. So let's take a look at some of the pieces that you have to complete this project. You have one page here. It has the bottom part of the gumball machine, and it says first grade was gumbelievable. And here is where the bottom of the gumball machine that has that opening, that little door where you would be able to get out the gumball. And then these 6 circles are the gumballs that are going to be inside of the gumball machine. So my advice first is to start with coloring and then start cutting and assembling. So you can look here. Now this example has a red gumball machine. I've seen a lot of red gumball machines. You can choose to do that, but of course as the artist you can make your own decisions and decide if that's the color you would like to use or create your own style. So I would go ahead and color in here the background of the gumball machine. Also, this little doorway, right, where you open it to get the gumball, they're showing that with gray. So they have that gray on the door and then gray along the bottom. You can decide if you want to use gray or any other color. And so you've got the bottom half of the gumball machine. You should have another page. And here it will have this large circle. That is the top of the gumball machine, usually made out of glass. So that you can decide if you want to leave it blank and white, that's fine because that glass is usually clear. Here they're showing it on the example as a light blue. You can choose to use light blue. I've also had some students decide to use gray, but very lightly shaded in. So if you want to do that here, you have a choice of what color you would like to use. Once you have completed the bottom of the gumball machine, and this will be the top of the gumball machine, you can cut those pieces out, and this gumball machine will go along the top, right? So you're gonna end up cutting off these gumballs because you're gonna wanna use those for later. So cut out the gumball machine at the bottom, cut out the top, and then I would go ahead and put some glue right here and then put your circle and glue it here. I'm going to get a board and draw it to kind of help you see what I'm talking about. Okay, here's my model of the art project. That way you can kind of see how I would build it. So here's the bottom of the gumball machine. Now, right along the top here is where I would put some glue. So if I were you, I'd put a lot of glue right up here along the top. But not covering up the words where it says first grade. So I would put a lot of glue up there along the top, but make sure I'm not covering up the words. Then my next step would be to take the top of the gumball machine, that big circle, and put it on top here. Okay, so I'm going to imagine I've cut out my circle. I'm going to put it right here. So my nice big gumball machine top going right along there. So then this part here will actually be hidden. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that because that's going to be behind now because I glued my circle on top. And I'm also thinking too, if this seems like the gumball machine top, because it's so big of a circle, seems like it's kind of falling over, give it a few moments to let it dry before you're trying to hold it up. That might be helpful. Also, you could decide maybe you want to glue this onto another piece of paper as a background piece of paper. Maybe if you have a piece of just white paper, you could glue both of those pieces. Then once they're attached, if you want to glue this onto a background piece of paper to keep it solid, that could be a choice you might want to do too. Once you've made your gumball machine, you still have the gumballs, and if you want to include a silly face for the gumball machine, you can look here at the example. You have eyes and a smile, which you could put along the top of the gumball machine. The other side actually even shows it where it's a bit of the corner here. You can see it's either straight at the top, can also be on the corner. Again, it's your choice. Sometimes I've had students say they wanted to make their own face rather than use the eyes and smile that are provided. If you want to do that, that's totally fine too. But if you choose to, you can include that face somewhere on your gumball machine. I would say maybe along the top and give more space towards the bottom for your gumballs, which you get to work on. Okay, so if you want to include that face, you can include it right up here. So it doesn't have to be completely on the paper. Instead, you can let it kind of go off the circle, and that would be okay. It would probably still hold on pretty well. If you put glue in the right spot towards the bottom of the eye, that would totally work. And then the smile you can put just below that. So you've got your gumball machine and a face, which is optional if you want that. And then the most important part of this project is remembering how first grade was gumbelievable. How is it so unbelievable? What are some memories that you really like about first grade? You have 6 different gumballs here. I would recommend writing down the items that you want to remember. I would write them first, and then once you've written it, then you can color around that so you can still read what you wrote down. If you're looking for some ideas, I've written a few down. Here are a few ideas of activities or things, classes, maybe something that we've completed in first grade that you might want to write down on one of your gumballs as a memory that made first grade gumbelievable for you. Here, let's look at them together. We can think about a field trip that we've gone on. We went to Lindsay Wildlife. Maybe that was a field trip you really thought was interesting. PE, I know Coach has done some great activities and games with you, so maybe you want to think about PE and all the different things that you learned in that class, the different exercises, but also just the fun games. I know he played some really fun games with you, things like Sharks and Minnows. I think I heard about that game. I don't think I made that up. I think that really was a game, Sharks and Minnows. I know you've sometimes completed I think there was dodgeball and tug of war or something like that. I know he taught you other sports, things like soccer. So maybe there were something in particular about PE that you really liked. Maybe you enjoyed playing on the playground, and maybe you mastered something on the playground. Maybe you went across the monkey bars, or maybe you slid down the pole from the higher level all the way down to the ground, and that's something that you're proud of. The science lab. Remember, you completed an experiment in the science lab with Mrs. Arnsey, and I remember seeing pictures where you're wearing your goggles, and it was so special. So maybe there's a science lab you really enjoyed. The stretch breaks, where we have our exercise movements during our learning time of the day. Maybe you really enjoyed one of those. Chapel and the worship and lesson times. Or Western Day, when we had a chance to have different activities in each one of the classrooms and you got to dress up in Western clothing. Our Thanksgiving feast, where we had that meal, we shared it all together as a school. Music class with Mr. Van Loo. Or Christmas brunch, where you were able to perform on the stage. Our reading buddies, where once a week on Thursdays, our reading buddies, 8th graders, would come to our classroom and you got a chance to read with them. Our distance learning, maybe you've enjoyed this opportunity to learn at home. Maybe there's an art project you really liked. Or also the Zoom calls that were part of our distance learning. Pick 6 of these, include one memory you really liked on each gumball, decorate the gumballs, and then cut those out and glue them inside of your gumball machine. Great job on this project, and I hope you have an opportunity to think about some special memories from first grade.